Let's try talking about anxiety. In a way, anxiety is just kind of like the mind being a control freak. It's the mind trying to know with absolute certainty. And you can never really know anything like completely 100%. And that's kind of the mystery of life. You don't really ever know completely. It's kind of up in the air. You can think about and come to conclusions, but your conclusions aren't usually real. It's just a thought. The most real thing is what's happening right in front of you. And anxiety is just the mind trying to create an absolute reality that you can like cling on to. Or at least in a way that's kind of fearful. Like, I need this specific outcome or else something bad will happen. It's just the mind trying to get your attention with fear, just going, if I don't get what I want, something's gone wrong. Something could go wrong. Really, anxiety is just control. It's not really going with the flow. There's instead of being really natural about things, it's how can I get what's happening to go the way I want it to? Instead of just allowing everything to kind of just happen on its own, kind of spontaneously, but not a really resigned kind of stopping. It's more of a just getting out the way kind of stopping. Doesn't mean you resign. Like, I don't know if you have to study for a test. It isn't just, I'm gonna just throw my hands in the air, not prepare. That's kind of another form of control. Like, you're trying to force yourself not to do something. That's another form of control. But also getting obsessed about something is also control. You're obsessed that if it doesn't go right, something's gone wrong. It keeps you in your head. Doesn't mean you have to be negligent. Going with the flow doesn't mean being negligent and ignoring things. It's the difference between if you had a test, you can prepare, but whatever the outcome, you don't relate it back to you like you're a good person or a bad person. You did something right or you did something wrong. You can still practically prepare for things without being anxious. It's when if I do bad at this, that means I'm bad or there's something wrong with me. That brings up the anxiety. The anxiety that there's something wrong with you. Like if I planned a trip to another country, it'd probably be wise to learn about the culture or tourist traps, things like that. It'd be another thing to obsess about it, like constantly looking out for it in a way that makes me scared or nervous. Because I'm trying to control something. When reality is, I don't actually know what's going to happen. I can still be like diligent about being aware of things, but I can't guarantee an outcome. The anxiety comes when you're afraid that you can't guarantee that things will go well. You can't just let go and let yourself just sort of respond naturally and very spontaneously. Like, I don't know if something bad's gonna happen. Will it? Will it not? Anxiety is just believing something bad probably will happen, so I gotta prevent it. And you're spending all this time and energy just, how do I prevent something from happening when it's not even happening? You're just imagining the bad thing happening and you're trying to prevent it. I'm still trying to say, doesn't mean you can't very practically prepare. If I had a job interview coming up, I'd probably prepare for that. But I don't have to obsess about it like, man, what if I do bad or what if they don't like me? That's anxiety. You can drop the you can drop that part. You don't have to worry about yourself. Like, what does this mean about me? Or am I not good enough? It's just, I'm a Probably learn a bit about the job, maybe some practical things I can say, and just go with the flow with what I know. I don't have to be like completely ignorant and just do nothing on a practical sense, because you do have to kind of sway people a bit, but it doesn't go back to you or your self-esteem or your sense of self. It's just doing what you can and see how it unfolds. Just kind of dissociating from life can be its own form of resistance, like, you know, kind of convincing yourself, like, I don't need a job or I don't want to work, things like that. Although you can be in a situation where that's fine, but you still got a life to live. And ignoring aspects of your life, it's a form of resistance. It's really just coming back and being honest and being okay, however things unfold. But you don't know how things are gonna go. Trying to know how things are gonna go creates anxiety because you can't know. It's not something you can actually guarantee. I'm sure you've made plans and it doesn't go like that, like at all. And there's anxiety if you believe things not going as you plan means something's gone wrong. If you just let things kind of unfold, even if it's against what you thought should be, then there's no anxiety. It's just flow. You're just letting things unfold as they are. A lot of this control is just trying to manipulate what's already happening in a very neurotic way. There's kind of a natural flow to everything, and anxiety is arguing against this very natural flow. Like, it should be going another way. Or the way things are going, I don't like it. And there's gotta be something I can do about it. So the mind starts hypothetically theorizing about what it can do to change reality. All that does is just create more fear because you're trying to change it because you believe there's something wrong with it. Yet you can still like things or dislike things without the anxiety. It's the difference between someone making a comment and you kind of reacting kind of explosively, or versus someone making the exact same comment and you're just responding, hey, that makes me uncomfortable. I don't like that. One is a lot more self-driven, where the spotlight is all about you. And because it's about you, it's a lot more personal. Versus when it's less personal, you can be a bit more calm about it. Calm doesn't mean you have to like it. Like if someone's poking you with a stick, um, you can kind of respond more calmly because you don't think it's about you. Like if it's a kid, you probably wouldn't take it as personally because like, they're just a kid. They don't know any better. Versus if it's an adult, you kind of have this thought, well, they should know better. So your more emotional reactions justified because you have this belief that they should know better. Versus if you're a lot more clear and empty, you can respond without that judgment of there's something wrong about me or there's something wrong about them. You can just respond, hey, this makes me uncomfortable. And you can probably just tell them, hey, it's not okay that you're hitting me with a stick or something. Really, anxiety is just not being comfortable with what is. That there's something preferable to what is. And that you want this thought of what you should be going through as more important than what is happening. Or even just believing a thought that something bad's going to happen. But all that's really just happening in a thought. Because all you can know for sure is exactly what's happening directly right in front of you. And when you don't confuse what's actually happening versus what you think could happen, you're less anxious. Your body can still tense up and react to things, like if you're in danger. Like if you're driving and someone's tailgating you, your body can still tense up and be a bit more, mm, I guess you can say reactionary, or a bit more cautious. But it's not like a mental cautious. It's not something your mind's arguing, like something's gone bad or this is a bad situation. It's a bit more of a visceral reaction where your body tenses up and it's more careful compared to the mind being more careful and or catastrophizing what's happening. Because physical fear can be a good thing, you're physically in danger. If your body tenses up and reacts faster, it could probably save your life. But the mental kind of fear, where it's kind of just all in thought and all in your head, that just kind of slows you down. There's nothing wrong with actual physical fear. It can get you out of a bad situation. Like if there was a wild animal, maybe you'd instantly react and get away compared to thinking about getting away, which would just slow you down. There's nothing wrong with fear. And part of anxiety is making the actual physical fear wrong. Like you don't want to physically feel fear, so you're going to think about how to avoid this sensation. Also, please note I didn't say uncomfortable sensation. Because the only thing that can believe a sensation is uncomfortable is your mind. So if you believe something, at least with your mind, is uncomfortable, it's kind of the mind going back into its head. It's weird to say that because there can be actual physically uncomfortable situations. Like if you're getting poked or something. But the suffering part is this shouldn't be happening. That doesn't mean you can't want to get away from it. But you don't have to mentally argue away from it. If you don't like it physically, you can physically just get away. And if it involves another person, you can speak up. You can walk away. Things like that. Without getting into a narrative in your head of there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with the other person. There's always a comparison or a gauge of yourself or another self. Really, I don't have much more to say on this. It's always just going back to you don't have to believe what's going through your head. You just have to get to the point where, well, what's actually happening and what's just my interpretation of what's happening. And you gotta just drop the interpretation part and actually get back physically and live into what's happening. And sometimes the most honest thing for what's happening is you kind of gotta get up and get away from a bad situation. But you don't have to overanalyze it with your head. You can just get up, walk away. Even if it's like someone in your life, you can just go, this isn't working. This isn't something that's important. Or they're crossing boundaries and I just gotta leave. Without making someone else a bad person, without making yourself a bad person. Just being able to drop blame and just going with a very natural, honest flow that you can really feel into. Not something you reason with logically. It has more of a feeling than a logic to it. And when you just get comfortable with your feelings, uncomfortable feelings aren't uncomfortable. You just get okay with feeling. And then there's no more fear about feelings that you thought were uncomfortable because you get to feel them. And you let these feelings that felt uncomfortable finally get their say and speak up to you. Even if it's a feeling like it's okay to fail, that has a specific feeling behind it. And when you're not worried about that feeling of what failure feels like, you're not afraid of being a failure. You're not afraid of rejecting someone or feeling rejected. And those are just natural sensations. And you don't avoid those situations because of a mental fear. And you can just feel the more visceral kind of fear without making it a problem. And you're going to be a lot more genuine, a lot more authentic. And then you can finally listen to yourself and just live in a way that's honest and truthful compared to a mental structure where you believe this is how I should be living my life. When you can just live your life as it is and respond accordingly as it is, not about how you're thinking about it, but as it is, and you respond naturally from a place that's natural instead of a place that you had to think about or figure out or just a mental guarantee of this is the life I want, but it's only stuck in your head. You can still want things, just it doesn't matter if you get it anymore. Because if you want something and you're not afraid, I'm kind of losing my words here. If you want something and you're afraid you won't get it, that's going to create anxiety. But if you want something and if it doesn't matter if you get it, things just kind of flow a lot more naturally. And it doesn't matter if you get the things you want or not. You get to just sort of play with your life and enjoy it. Anyways, that's enough rambling. Thanks for listening.